What's up, Moose fam? Colin here. Today we're going to be speaking with the enemy. Sorry, not the enemy. Of course, we're talking about Adam from the Wildcast Podcast. We're going to talk about the trades the season that just happened, trade period that just happened. We'll also talk about how he got into representing his team, being the voice for his team there in Moncton. So please welcome with me, Adam Lund. How you doing, bud?
Oh, that can go many different avenues, sir. That can go many different avenues. This is one of the days where trade deadline's always fun. It's a lot tougher when guys are moving out that you've had in your organization for a couple of years and followed. But other than that, I'm doing personally great. Christmas was good, New Year's was good, and just excited to be on with you. And thanks for having me on finally.
I gotta ask you before we move any further, because of course what time is it? It is 1:30. The trade just ended. Are you gonna change the name of your channel to the Wildcast Podcast?
Well, I can't do the Herdcast because Johnny and the board still has that. But it's a day. It's a 24-hour period. If you're a fan of the Moncton Wildcats, I mean, we heard about the Dylan Gill late on the 4th, late that night, and you knew that one of the 20-years was going to have to be sent. It wasn't going to be Vidicek, and at the time, it was not going to be Steinman. He was your goaltender, so numbers game. It was Loshing, and we've only had one player in Wildcat history that's played all 5 seasons in Moncton from start to finish. Loshing could have been that, but he's sent to Shawinigan, so he gets a chance to play in the playoffs at least. Dylan Gill, like I said, he's big, 6'3", 200. Yeah, 6'3", 200 pound. Didn't play last year in the queue because of his shoulder. Played like 12 games or something like that. Was captain of Rimouski, but again, just like McKinnon, we're not bringing him in for scoring. We're bringing him in to solidify an already very good defense, and I think that's a pickup that if you have the chance to, you go ahead and you make that deal. And then obviously the one with the.
Since you brought up Dylan, what does that mean for him? He's now second line D line. Does that mean Gill's going to push him down or what?
Oh, you know what? I wear this stuff with logos all over it, like I know what I'm doing, and I have no idea where that slots him. I guess you have to see how he fits in. You would think he would fit in on the top line with Moran, and then keep Johansson and McKinnon together, and then put AFG and Grenier.
I'd like to see that. I think that's smart.
Or you have Mullen and AFG. Grenier is your 7th defenseman. This team could go 11-7. Gardner doesn't play his 4th line a whole lot. They maybe get 8 to 10 minutes a night. So could be a situation where some nights they go 11-7 and Grenier plays second power play as kind of a specialist or whatever. I don't know. And then, I mean, you had to replace Loshing's scoring at some point. I think unless there's an NCAA guy coming in, I'm not sure you've done that. But Steinman for Rousseau and Crosby with some picks attached to Halifax. Obviously, I think it's a done deal. I don't think this is a futures. I don't think any of Moncton's deals are future deals.
I'd say this one's done.
Yeah. And that's what happens this time of year is you get a ton of futures.
I do believe that at some point, like I know I've been saying it for a year now, at some point we will be getting Desnoyers, but I don't think
unless he's got another brother that you guys are drafting in a year or two, you will get a Desnoyers, but it won't be this one.
We'll see.
But yeah, I don't know how to feel about it. In honest, it just went down about a half hour ago.
I feel bad for Steiny. He was playing good. He was representing good, and
third and he's leading the league in wins. Not
that Rousseau doesn't deserve the shot, because he does, but Steiny was serving you guys good, and it just feels like a slap in the face, man.
This is when you do this kind of show that I do, and you're getting into this year. You learn quickly that it's a business, and it's the worst. This is the worst part of the business
100%.
Of junior hockey. But like I said before we started this, if Rousseau can get to the 2023 Rousseau, where he was unbelievable for you guys, took you to the playoffs, took you all the way to the final when you run into just a wagon of a team in Quebec. then this looks wonderful.
Yeah.
But I worry about team chemistry. I do. We've seen it the past couple of years. 2 years ago, we traded Iasenza. The team chemistry went down. Now we found out after it was more DL that was the problem than it was team chemistry more often. But
Yep.
You had a couple of moves there last year or non-moves, and it went downhill again. So I do worry about team chemistry with this move. But again, if it was
who wears this if it's a bad move, it doesn't pan out, do you think McDougall is going to be basically put to the stake?
I don't think fans will be happy. But I don't think fans would have been happy if Steinman was our goaltender and we made a move for Crosby and some picks and another player from another team and it didn't work, right? Yeah. That's just the nature of the business. So it just amplifies it when it's a Halifax player and a Moncton player in these two deals. As fans remember, we got Olivier Groux and
McIsaac,
and we were going to win the Memorial Cup that year. So I said this to the wife last night. I said, I don't want to be a conspiracy theory guy, but man, am I starting to think that 2020 was just we all passed away and we rebooted a simulation because she's pregnant again.
Yep,
like she was in 2020.
By the way, that is one of her questions. How's she doing?
Yep, we'll get to that transition. She's pregnant again. We're leading the league we were.
It's your show.
We made all-in deals with Halifax. I'm like, if that's the simulation that it feels like 2020 all over again, we just can't have a global shutdown pandemic. That's all.
I got to tell you,
and the Bucks are playing the Commanders in the playoffs, which they did that year. The home and road team is reversed. So maybe that means things will be reversed and we'll get our Memorial Cup like we're supposed to. But I don't want to be a conspiracy guy, but I said last night, it feels like a simulation with how things are going.
There are conspiracy theorists out there that think 2025 is going to be an absolute horrible year for us.
I'm excited for that. Let's go. Yeah, no, that's exciting.
So I know we have a bunch of questions to get to, but I got to say, man, I was at the game 5-1 here in Halifax versus Moncton, and that bum, Dylan McKinnon, scores on us. He puts up 2 points all year with us, and he comes to you guys. He's already got 2 points. What the hell, man?
Yeah, he's trying to get money for Riverview Minor Hockey. So every goal he scores, he sends $50 to Riverview Minor Hockey.
So they'll get $100.
Yeah. So far they're up to $100. But when we had him on our show, he kind of laughed when we talked about that with I can't think of the guy from Five Bridges, Rob from Five Bridges. He's like, goals? Can we do hits? Can we do fight? Like he hasn't had as many fights as he's had goals. So he'd still be at $100 if he'd have done fights because he can't really fight anymore. But like we said up in the off season, if you thought we were acquiring Dylan McKinnon to put up 10 goals and 25 assists for 35 points, that's not what you were bringing him in for. You're bringing him in for exactly what he's there.
Yep.
To be big, tough, and mean in front of the net. And so far, he's helped this defense core just turn things around.
All joking aside, he's an incredibly talented young man. He comes from a very, very nice family, and he's a stellar person off the ice as well. He's one of my favorites. He was a fan favorite here. He's one of my favorites to ever don the Halifax Moosehead logo. So you guys got a good one in him. So let's talk about the missus. How's she doing?
Very tired all the time.
Yeah.
We're at 8 months, 20. Well, when this comes out, I guess it'll be 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I guess. She's just tired all the time. Everything's going well with the little one in there, and so it's going well. It's a very nervously exciting time for us, and but she's doing well and a little tired, a little sore, and just ready to be done with it. But
now I know you've told the story to your fans a number of times, but for the Mooseheads who may not be subscribed, by the way, go subscribe. He's got great content. Tell the story about the arrival date.
Oh yeah, so as you can see above me, we lost our son in 2020. He was 2 pounds 7 ounces, so that's why we have 27. That was gifted to us by Kim and Brent DeBorn. And then it's got a signed stick by all the players that year. The first home game I went to after he had passed. And so 27 has always kind of been his number. We don't buy jersey tickets at the arena. My wife bought a raffle ticket for the jersey last year. It was for Trenholm, 27.
Wow.
She ended up winning it. Yeah, so he signed it, got a picture with her. So that's been Riker's number. So when we found out we were having another one, and it was going to be C-section just for all things, before. And we were like, when are we going to have it? And she's like, around 38, 39 weeks. So I did my calculations. I got the Wildcats schedule out, and I said, all I ask is the 25th of January, not that date. She's like, why? I'm like, they're playing Rimouski, and that is a marquee event. I want to go to that game. It wasn't going to be the 24th because her friend was in the same situation, and their loss was on the 24th. So the doctor just randomly just like, how was Monday? Sure, Monday works. And we went about 2 weeks without remembering or figuring it out that Monday, January 27th is 2/7. So his little sister will be born on the 27th, which is a pretty cool note.
Homage. Yeah, it's a nice homage for sure, man.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I didn't. I apologize. I didn't know you lost Riker. I thought you guys had a child. I apologize.
No, he come at 25 weeks. Her water broke on New Year's Eve. Nobody still has any idea why. So she was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. And then he was born on the 12th via emergency C-section. He fought his little ass off, and he passed away on January 16th. So,
buddy,
yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Man. Thank you. Appreciate that.
We lost two, but it wasn't. She didn't carry the full term. It was, but it's hard, and we as dads we can't comprehend. I'm sure you were extremely sad, but we can't comprehend what the women go through when they bear a child, and it doesn't work out, or they have a miscarriage, or whatever the case may be.
Even when they carried to full term, you're disconnected until they arrive. So yeah, there's still moments and times and things, and but I don't want to say it's in the past, but it's in the past, but we never forget, and we enjoy the moments that we're about to be given. And we got through New Year's Eve. We got through this first couple weeks in January, which is always a tough time. And, winning hockey definitely helps. Definitely helps. I'll tell you that much.
She's a big fan too, eh?
Oh yeah. She's the number one supporter of this show. The show would not go on if she was not as supportive as she is, being at most of the games with me, doing the camera work, traveling, doing everything, allowing me to go to the arenas in the Maritimes division, the drafts in Sherbrooke, Quebec. This show would not be anywhere if she was not part of the show.
That's amazing, man. I love that you give her credit for that. So you're not originally from...
And she came out with a name. So.
Oh, did you see the Wildcast?
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. Who came out with Fan Insters?
Jeremy screwed it up one day. He went to say fans, and I think he went to say listeners on the show, and he just said fan listeners. And I kind of looked at him, and I was like, man, that's what we're going to call them. And some people think it's stupid, and I'm like, because Jake story, from the Islanders. What's that?
With that story, I actually like it, but I was one of the ones that thought it was, what the hell is that? That's stupid. But
it's a fan and a listener.
I do. I actually like the story behind it.
And Jake said, like, what are you going to call your fans? The Moose, the Herd, or I listen to a bunch of podcasts and a football podcast. They're the fantasy footballers. They call them the Foot Clan. So just a name for all your fans. And I'm like, I have no idea. And this was early on, and I'm just like, I don't know. And he made a quick mistake saying fan listeners instead of fans or listeners. I can't remember what he was trying to say. And it just stuck in my head, and I'm like, I'm going to use it and make it happen.
I like it.
I don't know if other people use it, but I'm using it.
It's a lot more original than I use. I just use Moose Fam. So it's very original, man. So you're not really from Moncton. You don't
tell anyone.
You hail from Alberta.
I do. Yep.
Were you a junior fan there?
Yes. So I hail from the home of Nickelback, Hannah, Alberta. Which is a town of 3,000, a couple hours away from Red Deer, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, Calgary. I moved to Calgary in 2004. kind of became a Hitman fan just because it was there. I hate the Flames. So, was a junior hockey fan out there with the Calgary Hitmen in the early 2000s. Went to see all the playoff games in the 2010 run. They ended up playing Moncton and Brandon that year. So the only two times I've cheered for Moncton the only other time I cheered for Moncton was when they were playing Brandon. Because when you're a Hitman fan, you hate Brandon. But then I kind of left. When I moved to Lethbridge, I became a Hurricanes fan, and I was like, I'm going to go to 5 or 6 games. I ended up going to all 16 in the second half of the season and the playoffs. Nothing to this level. Like, I just went. But yeah, I've always enjoyed junior hockey. It's the cheapest way to see NHL. Yeah, it's the cheapest way to see NHL talent.
To me, it's not even the money. It's the compete level. I just feel like the compete level with junior is so high.
Yeah, right. And if you get a good couple players and you get on a run, I mean, I've seen Justin Pogge, Martin Jones, Carl Alsner, Getzlaff, like all these players in Calgary, and then in Lethbridge, there's a couple that aren't as, like Stuart Skinner. I was there for all of Stuart Skinner's second last season. So it was kind of funny. I watched him the year before I moved out here as an Oilers prospect. And then I moved out here, and 2 years later, they acquired Olivier Rodrigue, who was another Oilers prospect. So I got to watch back-to-back Oilers prospects in my 2 years.
It really is watching the future unfold, man. Yeah, like I love
it. I know that it competes with everyone's grocery money and disposable income and stuff, but it is the cheapest way to see the future stars of the NHL.
100%. When I was in Alberta, one of my friends I still speak with occasionally was the captain for the Black Falls. I don't remember their name.
Junior or AJHO.
Yeah. Oh, I thought they were. They're not junior.
No,
I thought they were.
They're AJHL, which is the MHL equivalent out here.
Oh, okay.
Junior A. Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was junior hockey. I don't know anything.
It's classified as junior hockey, but it's the level right underneath junior hockey.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So we discussed the fact that you're not from here. You ended up coming to Moncton. How'd that wind up? Why'd you get here? Why'd you get to Moncton?
Well, my wife lived here in 2010, 2009, 2010. So she actually was project manager of the 2010 track and field games out here in Moncton. So she ran that whole thing. She loved it out here, got her schooling, went out to Alberta, got stuck with me, came out here to show me what it was like for a holiday. And I'm like, I don't want to go to the East Coast. Like, if I'm spending all that money to go to the East Coast, if I'm spending all that money to travel, I want to go somewhere where I can change my money, whether it be Florida, California, Mexico, and Europe.
It's funny because all you Westerners are like that too, man.
100%.
I heard stuff like fix your boat, you shipwreck Newfie, get out of my town. The only good thing coming from the East is a road going west.
Yeah. And then that's what a lot of people say. They're like, oh, you're from the West moving East. But I was like, whatever. And we got out here. We spent 3 days in Moncton, 3 days in Halifax, and a day and a half in Digby. And I fell in love with it. Like, I was living in Calgary, so I was getting tired of living in Calgary. And I just got out here, and Moncton reminded me a lot of Lethbridge, and I loved living in Lethbridge. It wasn't too big. It was big, but it was big enough. It had junior hockey. Everybody was really welcoming when I came out here. I was, big fun that the wife rolled out the red carpet and brought all her friends out to show me how friendly this place is. And I was ready to look for jobs on the plane ride home. And from June to December, she said, no, your family will disown you. And finally in December, I got to a point mentally where I was like, here's your choice. You're coming or I'm leaving without you. And she's like, all right, well, I guess I'm going with you. And she said, Moncton or Halifax? I said, Moncton. She's like, it's bilingual, right? Yep. But I wasn't leaving Calgary and that traffic and all that to move to Halifax and deal with all that again. It just wouldn't have been good. So
smart.
But yeah, like, we got out here in February 6th, my birthday of 2018, and saw my first Wildcats game February 8th against Plainville.
So what kept you coming back
to the Wildcats?
Yeah,
I like junior hockey, and I was going to jump deep 2 feet in. And like I said, we went to a few Lethbridge games when we were together and a couple of Hitman games. So I really enjoy watching junior hockey. And so, they were getting a brand new arena that didn't hurt. But yeah, I saw the last 9 games in the Coliseum. the first 2 rounds of the playoffs there when we upset Rimouski. And that generally just kind of hooks you in when you're not really sure if you want to be a full-time fan. And then you go up against a team like Rimouski back then and you upset them in the playoffs. A new fan was born.
And so how long were you going to the games before you decided, hey, let me do something with media with the Wildcats?
9. I went to 9 games.
That's it.
The final night.
Really?
Yeah.
You only attended 9 games before you decided you wanted to represent them?
Yeah.
Get the hell out.
Nope, dead serious. I went to the last 9 games in the 2018-2019 season and then into the playoffs. And when you're coming from Calgary, you can pick up the Calgary Sun paper and you can get all the news for all the teams, baseball, football, WHL, OHL, QMJHL, all kinds of news that you want to consume. And I'm a sports junkie. I want to consume sports news. I don't even watch regular news because, well, it's really depressing, but I don't even watch regular news. I just watch sports news and consume it all. And coming out here, they're going from a paper where there's like 8 pages of sports news and articles and stuff to times and transcripts where there's like 2, and there's a Wildcat article and something else and minor league baseball. And I was like, there's a need here. And that was where I felt that I've always wanted to be in sports media. I've always wanted to do a podcast. I've always wanted to be in some sort of media. And again, talking about the support she gives me, she's like, do it. Like, just do it. And if it sucks and no one listens, nobody knows who you are. You're the new guy. You got 7 or 8 episodes and away you go. If it takes off, you kind of build in within this community. And so just before the playoffs, I just decided I'm going to give it a shot. I used an iPhone, an app, and away we went.
So I'm in my early years now with the channel. What were the biggest struggles you faced early on?
In year 1, it would have been content. It would have been knowing the league, knowing the players, knowing how the league works, especially coming from Alberta, where we're taught to speak all the letters of a name, not some and different things on top of them and things like that. So learning that, I mean, I did play NHL 2017 or 2018, whichever year that was. I did play a lot of Q hockey to get used to the teams, the names, the everything. I think that was my biggest
hurdle.
Kind of hurdle. Yeah. Was getting to know the league. And then my own misfortune, or I guess my own want, is I wanted to be the guy that covers the league media wise. I wanted to be with Neil Hodge. I wanted to do this. And so just trying to be part of the team, including Moncton Wildcast instead of Wildcast Podcast on my emails or my Twitter or my Instagram, stuff like that. Like, just not really knowing how it works. So if my name is close to their name, maybe I'll get some mentions, maybe I'll get some accidental follows, which kind of worked early on. But yeah, that was kind of my downfall, is just kind of learning the league. And I think what helped is I did the playoffs. Like, I was picking teams that, like Blainville, I was like, oh, we'll go 6 games with them. They destroyed us in 4, like 9-3, 7-1, 5-4, and 8-3. Like, just destroyed us. So I was like, whoops, I don't know. But I think what happened and what helped is I didn't stop and then start in the training camp.
Yeah. I
just continued on doing some shows. I had Jeremy McKinn on. I had Mika Sear on. I had Nick Riopel on in that first year. And I tried to engage fans as much as I could. Like, give me your top 10 Wildcat moments up to now. Give me your top 5 hits. Give me your top 5 goals. And then built shows around those while watching stuff off YouTube and letting people tell me what they wanted in terms of content, and just rolled it right on through the off season. I didn't stop all summer, just doing half-hour episodes with a set of headphones plugged in, like a set of headphones with a speaker or a microphone on it, and an app that allowed me to do half-hour episodes. And I just spoke into my phone, and that's how this started. There was no video, no YouTube, no nothing. It was just all audio.
You get an engagement that early super, at least I found, super difficult with a fan base.
Well, especially when you're an outsider, right? And
exactly.
I think that was my biggest challenge too.
That's my question: is how long it take for the the other people in the building to accept you and rally around your channel.
What do you give me terms of accept? What does accepting to mean to you?
Let me tell you, I make no excuses. I fully believe that the second best fan base in the league are the Wildcats fans. So I speak with a lot of them. I talk to them. I even have some friends. Actually, one of your fans reached out after your last live and offered to buy me tickets to the 25th games. I declined. But he did twist my arm, and he has some redemption tickets. And
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so he actually ended up picking up. So you guys have a great fan base. So how long did it take for those fans, those nice fans, to say we like Adam, we like that we're getting his content, and start coming on to your lives and start giving you some sort of I can't even think of the word
acceptance.
Not even acceptance. It's on YouTube all the time. I use this word all the time. It's when they interaction, like when they
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, from day one.
Really?
Because I used Instagram stories a lot with asking people what they wanted and then taking their messages, but it took a while to get traction on the listens. I remember being excited when I had 10 in one day. I was like, 10 people listen to me, which to this day, 250 to 500 people listen to Jeremy and I talk. And we go to the arena and they know who we are. It's still a little mind blowing, a little humbling.
So you started, wait. You didn't start out video.
I
didn't know that.
I started out pure audio.
Get out.
An iPhone, a set of headphones with the microphone built into the headphone, and that's how I started the show.
I did not know that.
Yep. No, we just went to YouTube 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. We just started doing audio. My brother-in-law was like, "Why aren't you on YouTube?" I'm like, "Because I don't want to take away from audio listens." Because we were getting a lot of audio listens. He's like, "Who cares? Divide and conquer. Get more audio." And so no, I started all audio. This was all audio till from year one to probably, I guess, year 5, season 5.
I didn't know that. I knew you guys had you have quite a large following on Instagram. So I thought that you guys started out there and then made the switch to YouTube.
No, so it was all audio, and then I would use the stories to promote the audio podcast. I would get on the Instagram stories to talk, to promote the show. I would take pictures and ask underneath, what do you think of this? What's your top 5 moments? Blah, blah. And then people would send me messages, and then I'd make the show out of that. Or back then when we were having the arena built, the parking was a whole thing. So I think I had 2 or 3 shows on the parking, taking people's comments and stuff like that. But no, this show started all audio in years 1 through 5. And so yeah, no, they were pretty accepting right away. And I think a lot of fans kind of could see the writing on the wall. Obviously the guy that signs the checks for this team also had a paper, so he never wanted to let that go, but you could see the coverage dwindling, and I think fans were looking for other coverage. I'm actually shocked that I was the first one here. I would have been the second in Halifax, and I'm not sure how that would have gone over with Johnny Strobridge, but
well, to be fair, what Johnny was doing and what yourself and
right
and myself, they're completely 2 different things.
Right, but I don't know if I would have started one knowing there was already a podcast there. I might have jumped on with his and kind of went that way. But yeah, no, the fans were accepting right away. They took to this show. They took to me. I kind of lived in secret a little bit. I didn't really, I guess for the first 5 or 6 episodes, I didn't really promote anything because I wanted to make sure that there was actual listens. But yeah, once my face got out there and interaction was, Instagram, we got a lot of followers. I started my own sports channel, NFL, NBA, baseball, like all the top stuff to kind of get into this before I moved out here. So I think I had 100, probably about 40, 50 followers there. It wasn't doing anything. So I just revamped that in Twitter. I started from scratch. So that's however many followers we have built from scratch from day one. So
I think you have some. Let me check. I think you're over 1,000.
I think we're over K.
Yeah, I think you're like 1,400 or something like that, man.
Yeah. So that's that way. It's grown almost from day one. In terms of the team, again, this was my own. I want to do this. I want to be the media. I want everything all at once.
Yep.
As an outsider, they kept me at an arm's length. I still think there's a couple in the organization that aren't fans of me as an outsider doing this. Because they want to
25, by the way.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Because they want to control the message. But we're not fluff. So I think that was a bit, but it took a while for me to just grind and do this. And like I've told you, it's not all going to come in year one. It's taken me 7 years, 7 seasons to be media, to be accepted by the media. And so it was a grind. I mean, we would get to the preseason and we get to interview a couple players in preseason games after those for our channel. And then the regular season would just stop.
Really?
Or they wouldn't. Yep. If we wanted to have a fan on or a player on, we would ask well in advance and we'd get ignored on emails. This was the previous regime. This regime and last year's regime has been nothing but perfect to us. We can't thank them enough. I mean, even
the
last
quality
year
of work they're putting out social media wise is incredible last 2 years.
And I've had a couple people that are like, because what you do, they have to be on their game. And so I like to think because of what I put out and the knowledge and the stuff that Jeremy puts out in terms of draft, and we'll get into how he got on this, but we're bipolar opposites. He's in bed by like 9 p.m. And up at 6 a.m. and I'm in bed at like midnight, up at 10 if I'm not working. So when Pelche went to Calgary, we had it covered because if I missed something late at night, he was up early to catch it. And so, but yeah, that's kind of how they've slowly started to accept us. We even had a player on and we did the interview. They wanted us to send the interview to them Monday night so they could listen to it to make sure it was okay for us to put on a Wednesday podcast. And I'm like, guys, are you kidding me?
I find that fair. I think that's fair. I personally, what I do is I send my questions ahead of time, and the team knows that I'm not going to change them, right? Because if I change it, then I'll never have another player on, right?
We send the questions, and then we had to send the audio file to them to listen to.
Even after sending the questions?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Even after sending the questions. It was one time, and we didn't have an interview after that because the turnaround on a Monday night when you're the only one editing and getting everything ready is just too much to wait. And this was before we went to Rogers TV, so we can't make them wait any longer either.
Congratulations on that, by the way. That happened last year, right?
That happened this year. So,
was it? Okay.
But yeah, this regime has been very accepting. Richie Tebow has always been an ally of ours from basically almost day one. He's kind of been an ally to me, reached out to me, anything I needed, all that kind of stuff. And then above him in the hockey ops were not always great. And then Michelle Beliveau last year at training camp, they let us know they were going to accept us as media because when you're a podcast, you can't just be media. You have to get 2 other teams plus your own team to approve you when the league gives you that.
You don't need your own team.
Well, they always told me I did. So whether they told me that or not, I don't know, but that's what they always told me. That might have changed coming into this year, but I know that's how it was with Max.
Yeah.
But we always had other teams. We always had media from other teams, players from other teams on our show, and just never had ours. And eventually, like I said, we just put our nose down, went to work. We went to the draft in Sherbrooke last year, or 2 years ago, I guess it would have been. And we went live for the first round. We were as professional as we can be, and came out of training camp knowing that we were going to get official media passes. And it's been light years of anything that I could have, even thought was going to happen. It's been pretty awesome.
No, it's been incredible. I love watching your post-game interviews. I personally will never cover a draft. I nearly fell asleep at Moncton, man. I don't know how you cover them. It's just not exciting.
You have to be a hardcore fan, and I'm there to cover it as a host, and Jeremy's there to cover it because he watches a lot of these kids, watches a lot of games. So he knows these kids that are getting picked in the 10th round, 11th round. And next year, when you're on the floor,
I would consider myself a hardcore fan. It's just, I found it extremely boring. Like,
no, that's what I mean. If you're not, like, I'm not saying you're not. I'm saying if you're not a hardcore fan, you're going to find it extremely boring. It's not anything to be a hubbubaloo about.
Yeah.
But when you go to Quebec next year to cover it and you're part of the media on the draft floor, it's a completely different experience. Stuff is happening. You don't even watch what's going on stage. You're looking at GMs. You're like, oh, I see Cam and Gordy Dwyer talking. I see, Sylvain Franvo and Sly Couturier talking. What are they talking about? What do we got going on here? That's all you're seeing is you're just seeing GMs talking. It's a completely different.
And you're able to
completely
live stream
different experience.
that section of it, like you talking about them talking to each other. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
If you go to our channel, you can. It wasn't the greatest quality because I didn't know if you put the camera on, you're like 5 minutes behind the actual draft, so it's pretty behind.
Yeah.
But we had. It was funny. It was Denway being picked first, Carrier being picked sixth after a trade. We were covering it, sitting just like this. Jeremy beside me, one camera on me, one camera on us, one camera on the stage. And Richie, the GM, comes up and he didn't know we were live. And he's like, so what'd you guys think of that trade? We're like, well, we're live. We liked it. And he went from like, what'd you guys think? To right into GM mode. Like, no, we really thought that Carrier was a good player. And, we talked to him and we just felt if there was a move to be made. And it was just, go back and watch it. And I can't remember whereabouts it is, but you can see him like, how'd you guys like that trade? Yeah, no, we had some talks and we had some files open and just right into GM mode.
I hate that. The thing I tell my guests at the beginning before I even press record, I'm like, listen, be yourself. Nobody wants to see. So we hit the net. Really, nobody wants to see that. Be yourself. Yeah. You can refrain from saying certain things, but just be yourself. I can't stand the media trained guests. It's just not fun.
That's what all these kids are getting, right? They don't want to say the wrong thing. And, they're judged not just by us, not just by media, not just by adults, but other kids that they're going to school with, right? So they don't want anything like that to happen. But yeah, we went to Quebec in our first year and covered it just on Instagram, just holding a selfie stick and a microphone and passing it back towards the two of us. And that year we had Pelche and Riopel on as guests halfway through, and then this last time we were on the actual draft floor, last two times I guess, and it's a much better experience on the draft floor. But in saying all that, we went to Sherbrooke, we put our nose to the grind, we worked, we looked professional, we didn't act unprofessional as we're representing the Moncton Wildcats basically.
Yep.
And I think that was a major turning point for us, as they saw that these guys are not just here to get free tickets and screw around. They're here to do a really good job.
Yeah, I'm hoping persistence breaks resistance on my end.
That's all it is. I mean, and I've told you that. And I had Jamie Tozer from Station Nation, and I had Breyer from the Sea Dogs, and Pat McNeil just saying, like, because I would vent like, this sucks. Like, why can't I do this? And Jamie's like, man, it took me 6 years to get anything. And you know what Jamie Tozer does for this league. So it was just keep putting your nose to the grind. Thankfully, I'm sure one of your questions is about Jeremy. Thankfully, he's been able to be here. And thankfully, he feels the same way I do.
Yeah. No, I think Jeremy, I'll tell you, I don't think I know another person who knows as much about junior hockey than Jeremy. He's talking about people who are 12 years old coming up and playing. Like, the guy's a hockey knowledge phenom, and I agree. I personally think you're the personality, but I think you're very fortunate to have Jeremy. I really do.
I'm so lucky. Like, I make the joke that this is like a pregnancy. He's here 39 weeks to 40 weeks a year in the studio every Monday night. Games, doing interviews after, going to Sherbrooke in the car, going to Quebec in the car, going to Cape Breton, wherever we need to go. And when you asked earlier about, how long did it take the fans to accept you? About 7 episodes in, I had Chris Dobson, who worked for Rogers TV, sought me out at the hockey game based on where I was taking my pictures, because I'm always in the corner behind the goaltender, because as a former goaltender, I want to watch the game come this way.
Yep.
I don't want to be doing this all the time. but he found where my picture was that I put on social media, and then he came, sought me out, asked if I would ever be willing to have a co-host. And I thought to myself, I wasn't thinking about it, but if you're thinking about doing something for Rogers TV with your connections, if I say no, I could be up creek without a paddle.
That's pretty stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, absolutely. He's like, and I got another guy. Would you be interested in a three-part
Threesome
show? Yeah, threesome, three-way show, whatever. And I was like, yeah, sure. He's like, well, let me talk to him. Let's do some beers and lunch or whatever, and get to know each other and go from there. I was like, all right, cool. And Thursday we went out for lunch because I wasn't working when I first moved here. We went out for lunch on a Thursday and kind of connected and got along and had a good chat and gave him my vision of what I wanted this to be eventually. And that Monday they were there at the old house in the new studio with new equipment and 3 microphones, and they were there for season 2, and Jeremy has not left my side in 7 seasons. Yeah.
So what happened to the third guy?
Chris stepped away. He had twins, so obviously when you have twins and they're your first, and you're doing Rogers TV and you're doing Q games when they were presenting them, and something's got to give. And we love Chris. And honestly, if Chris never went on the show, because I did have another guy in mind that I was talking to about being a co-host potentially, I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I did have that guy. So thankfully, Chris was able to not step in beforehand, but thankfully I met Chris. He legitimized the show because he had such an audience being on Rogers TV and doing Across the Line and being a color commentary on a lot of games. He legitimized not only myself, but this show and what this show was. And yeah, we had a lot of good times in that first year. That was the 2018-2019 season. We upset Baie-Comeau in Game 7 in Baie-Comeau, and I went on my Instagram Live, as I always do after the playoffs, and the players jumped on. I think it was Jeremy McKenna's phone that jumped on live with me on the bus. They were all yipping and hollering, and it was the highest live ever. I did get in trouble for it. It wasn't my fault. But yeah, that legitimized us. Then he had to step away after season 3. And yeah, Jeremy's been here ever since. And I couldn't have asked for a better partner. The chemistry we have, the jokes that we have, and I'm gonna tear up. I promised Boucher I wasn't gonna do this. No, I don't know many people that would come to somebody's house for 39, 40 weeks a year, go to Sherbrooke, go to Cape Breton, go to this arena, go to that arena, do this, do that. He's just and his hockey knowledge, like you said, he knows what players are coming up in the draft. And I always joke around the draft time. I watched Caleb Denoyer play one time on TSN when we drafted Zach LaRue. I watched Zach LaRue in the Canada games play one time on TSN. He's seen him 8-9 times. Like, he has an opinion. He could be a scout if he wanted to.
Doesn't he do a little scouting though? Didn't he do something
he
last year?
Self-scouting.
I thought he did something last year for Moncton. You guys were talking about it. He was traveling down to Nova Scotia here to see some tournament or something.
He traveled for work, but he did. He was writing for the hockey news for the Q, so he was seeing a lot of stuff for the hockey news for the Q.
Okay.
But yeah, no, his knowledge around the draft time is unbelievable. His knowledge on this team, like, he knows who was drafted in 2009, 2008, 1997. He remembers all that kind of stuff. It's pretty comical and it's pretty awesome. And the comical part of it is just his demeanor. Like I said, we never knew each other 4 days before we started this, and he's been here for 7 seasons now.
Junior hockey Rain Man.
Yeah, pretty much.
So obviously we got to, I don't even remember how we came in contact with each other.
I'm a big deal, and you wanted to be like me, I think.
I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's the case either.
I think what happened is I didn't know that other people were doing this,
Mm-hmm.
but you have been a very positive light for me with my channel. Anytime there's been anytime there's been something I needed an answer for, or just really, I mean, a shoulder to lean on at times.
Yep.
So I do appreciate it, and the fact that we're rival fans. Rival team fans. It doesn't stop the camaraderie between our two teams, our two sets of fans. But do you actually hate playing us and losing? Like, are we the worst team to lose against in the league?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
It
What
it is
makes it
a
a rival is my question. Why do our fans hate losing against each other?
I think it's just now I've only been here for a few, like I said, since 2017, so I don't know what was built up in the 90s, the 2000s, but I think being division rivals, and I think they've had a couple playoff series. I know they have since I've been here, but I think that's it. And
Is it because we breed excellence? Is that the issue?
No, it's because you breed arrogance, I think is what it is.
Yeah,
I think it's because you breed
Tell me a little
arrogance. No, I think it's good. Like, don't hear what I'm not saying. It's great for junior hockey to have those rivals. But I think when you look at Halifax, you look at Moncton, they're big markets in the queue, along with Quebec.
Yeah.
And I think that constant pull and push. I hate the junior hockey cycles because I wish we could all be good at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I hate going to, and I said this last time we went to to Charlottetown with Jeremy. I said I hate playing Charlottetown when we beat them 6-1.
Yeah.
Or we lose 6-1.
It's not
like
fun
it's not
hockey.
fun. Like you get Holton hockey for a period and a half, and then we just take over,
Yeah.
or we just show up and away we go, or the other way where when they were dominant and going to 4 finals or 4 semifinals there in a row or whatever it was, we were just getting beat down. Like it's just not fun. And it's the same kind of with Halifax's 2018, 2019 was the last time these two franchises were really kind of on the same trajectory because they were competing for the Memorial Cup.
Yeah.
And so I wish that you could have that all the time. And it's every fan base, but there are bad apples when you go to certain arenas, and we
100%.
had a bad experience in Halifax in that 2018 playoff. Now, I was drinking. That didn't help. I can get mouthy. That didn't help. But that just left a sour taste in my mouth. But I think honestly, other than that, I think it's just the fact that these two teams are big market teams. You almost kind of think they compete for the same free agents. They compete for the same trades. And you have what we want. You have 2 Memorial Cups.
Yeah.
We don't. We have 2 championships. It's the same. It's not on the same level with St. John because they tear it down so much that it's just not even fun in year 1 and 2. But they build it back up to where they win. And by the time they're winning, we've already torn it down. So it's just, I think the Halifax thing is the fact that the arrogance of some of the fans.
Yeah.
Big market. And you want to beat the big market. That's the rivalry there, and I think that's where it is. And
But
when
let's
not so much right now when we're kind of a top end team and you're in the start of the rebuild. It's not as much fun to, I want to beat Halifax. We need to. We need to because we need to show that we can beat these lower end teams instead of struggling against them.
But you're still actually, you know what, man? Like with the exception of the latest 5-1 loss when we were in Moncton, that was a good game.
Yeah,
that was a really
and that's the thing too is
game.
they get up for each other, and I think the last 2 years the weirdest thing is the success in each other's buildings.
Yeah,
that's just breeded the rivalry. Like we go into your rink and we come out with W's. You come into our rink. Now we've taken the guy that owns the Avenir Center in Rousseau, but you would come into here even if you weren't top end team, if you're rebuilding and sweep us, and it's just. So I think that's part of it too. And, I look at the franchise in terms of what you guys do off the ice, on the ice.
We do. We have a beautiful show. We have a beautiful show.
Oh, the show that you have, the everything, like even the game last on Sunday, Meet the Moose.
Yeah.
The 2 questions with Santini and I think it was Jake Todd.
Yeah. Putting
back
up
and forth.
paddles. Yeah.
That is the simplest interaction. And you guys do it the best that I've seen. I haven't seen all of the league, but from what I watched, you do it the best. And that's for me. I'm like,
well, thank you. No,
yeah.
No,
I think that's a part of the. I think that's a part of the rivalry as well as, what teams are doing off the ice in terms of an environment of a show of all that. So
here's the thing: we're very fortunate in Halifax that we have a bigger building and a bigger fan base. No shade on Moncton, but that that affords us such luxuries as I think we have the most staff in the league, in the office, right? So that allows us to have people that are dedicated to certain things. It allows us to afford things like the lights on the glass and things of that nature, right? So I think we're very fortunate in our location and the way Halifax stands up for a team that stands up for us, right? So I think we're very fortunate in that respect. But I'll tell you, man, you guys have had a huge upgrade in the new stadium, man, because I've heard horror stories about fans going from Halifax to Moncton to the other, I can't remember what it's called,
Coliseum.
Coliseum, and just having beer thrown at them, and it's almost as if the Avenir Center brought a whole new class of fans.
Well, we brought security. I don't know if that helped, but
that could have helped.
Yeah, I like I said, I only went to 9 games at Coliseum. I know that every home opener in September they had like a wall of fog because it was so hot. I know in the Memorial Cup the people were dying inside because they didn't have the AC for it. I guess in 2006 it would have been, they had to pump in AC as much as they could. It's been, like, I always joke with the wife. I'm like, well, we saw the new arena, so we can move now. She's like, oh, really? Can we? But yeah, it's been light years ahead with the Avenir Center, but they're still not using that building to their full capacity, to the full maximum that it can be. When you're a big market and you have an owner like we do, should be able to staff it to compete and to use that building. But I've learned in the past 4 years, it's not the Moncton Wildcats. It's the Avenir Center. It's SMG. They control all the food pricing. They control all the
100%.
Ticket pricing. Ticketmaster's the scum of the earth. They do all that. So they are very limited, I think, by what they can do in terms of game day stuff and things like that. So it's a lot more the SMG group than it is the Moncton Wildcats. But they've done such a good job from last year to this year in terms of content and game day experiences and everything. And going back to what you said on me being a light and a point to talk to and stuff like that. That's just paying it forward. That's what I had with Jamie Tozer. Like, you just you think you're alone until you realize you're not. And that sometimes, like, there's many times I was ready to be done, and talking to Tozer and stuff like that and getting somebody to lean on makes a big difference. So it's nothing for me to want to do that for other teams, because this is what you need in junior hockey. This is what it needs to be moving forward, because the paper is dying and this is how people get their content.
Yep,
and
100%.
I would like every team to have an official channel, whether it's a fan doing it like in Niagara with the Ice Dogs, or if it's Scotty in Halifax doing it, or if it's Cape Breton with Brad and Pat McNeil doing their own, or it's us eventually becoming official, which I just want to see this grow. And, I think the CHL should really look into small monetary paying, not salaries, but helping with equipment costs and stuff like that.
It doesn't even have to be that. It's
there.
Support. It's all it needs to be is Here's the thing. If the QMJHL would support channels such as mine and yours, they wouldn't have to pay people to do it. It would be a free investment by just supporting us, because if we're supported and we can get the content, then we can get people who will sponsor us. The money will come. The only thing we need from our teams is support. I can if I have 5,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, and I'm getting millions of views a month or year, whatever the case may be, sponsors will come in naturally. We don't need to be paid for our services. We just need support. And I don't
not
think
everybody
that's a whole
now
lot to ask for.
No, it's not. But what I'm saying is, not a whole lot of people have money to go get an iPhone camera and a microphone.
Oh yeah. No, it's true.
If that was how they helped you, as well as putting support, like, you should be able to go on the CHL website and see podcast/media, or under the media tab of the podcast with all, like, if I built a website in 2019, I haven't kept it up, but that's what I had. I had a podcast thing where you could go and find podcasts from fan podcasts from all across Canada, because that's what this is getting to is media that is consumed on YouTube.
Yep, 1,000,000%. 100%. I just had a radio host on today. Actually, I had BJ Wilson from Q104. By the way, if you haven't watched it, because this is coming out after that, go check that out. It's episode 46 of Let Us Be Heard. It was a banger. He's a funny dude. But he said the same thing. He said, like radio will never die. It'll never die. Mm-hmm. It'll always be around. But podcast is the way of the future. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been on Q103 with Brock. We do a hit kind of every Wednesday, and they just want to expand their reach.
Yeah.
I've asked about putting the show on there on like Sunday nights or something, but that gets away from music and into talk radio and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is the biggest thing I miss. And if I ever won the lottery and could do it, I would love to start my own sports talk radio channel out here in the Maritimes, because when you're driving in Calgary and it's a long drive, 45 minutes to go wherever, or to Red Deer, it's an hour and a half.
Highways, yep.
QE2. You pop on the Fan 960 or Edmonton Sports Talk Radio, and you get your content. It's just sports talk. I think the Maritimes is missing that, and that's kind of where the reason I started this is I love talking sports, and this is an avenue for me to do that.
I get very bored talking about anything but fighting or hockey. I get very bored. I can't stand football, basketball. I don't know how you guys watch basketball. I've literally gone to sleep at a basketball game before.
Yeah, I can't. I used to watch in high school, but now this run down, chuck a three, run down, chuck a three, run down, chuck a three. He touched me with his fingernail.
Carry,
I don't even watch that. Football, I'm into big time, but baseball, I'm slowly getting back into watching every now and again. But it's hockey or it's football for me.
I love baseball. I can sit down and watch baseball. I absolutely love baseball. I won't keep you much longer, man. But what's next for the for your channel? What do you see long term?
Oh, well, like I said a little while ago, I'd love to be official, but I think at some point when you become official, things you say may not be. I mean, we've been on here for the past 2 years every January asking for DL's firing, and not holding back with it. So I don't know if that gets out if we're an official show, because I don't ever want to be fluff either. We have conversations in this studio that people are having at the water cooler, if people even have water coolers anymore. Like, we're having the conversations that everyone's having. So I mean, eventually I'd like to maybe get into that avenue. I'd love to be approached about doing a call-in show, kind of like the live that I do for the team, like an official, let people call in on the drive home. I think that's missing from radio. But again, the Wildcats would have to pay for that to keep that radio after the broadcast going. But as for this channel, I mean, it's just Jeremy and I just continuing to grow. Hopefully we can book a nice 10-day vacation in Rimouski. I hear that's a beautiful time of year in May and June. And I think if my wife isn't really a fan of spending vacation days in Rimouski, which I get, but for 8 seasons of commitment that we've had, I think that's the ultimate payoff. And if you want to consume Memorial Cup content from Halifax in 2019, go check out the Herdcast on YouTube, because they had a guy from Guelph, Steve McLean, and they kind of did a cross promotion, and he did interviews he had the media pass, so he was doing interviews every day of the Memorial Cup, and they followed everything. And I think, I mean, even if you go to the Herdcast, he won a trip to Saskatoon in McKinnon's Cup year. He just happened to win a 10-day all expenses paid trip out there. So he was able to blog. Dead serious. You can go watch it. He was there for that they did their channel and they weren't going to go. And then he entered some contest and won an all expenses paid trip. So the two of them went and followed the thing as a podcast. So
that's awesome.
That's our payoff. That's our big payoff at the end of the year. That doesn't mean if we get there and once we do all that, we're done. I don't see us going anywhere. Jeremy's not leaving. He's told me he's not leaving unless he dies. So I'd just like to get bigger. Like I said, we're on Rogers TV now. So for us to just continue to grow and kind of work more with the team. They've been great in allowing more players on, and like we have the GM on tonight on our show. to talk about the trade deadline. We had the assistant GM on before. We had McKinnon on before. Get a few more players on. Just continue to grow the channel and get bigger, get more popular, and eventually make it so they have to take notice of us. They know who we are, but you know what I mean? Like maybe bring these guys in and, who knows what it turns out to. I would love to be paid to do this.
Oh, I would love to be. I would love it if you're the guy that in the future I have to call to talk to people from Moncton. And I think you would be great at it. Long term, I'd love to see a podcast for every channel, but I'd also like to see a fan ambassador for every team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I know they have like an alumni, but
yeah.
I know that the Wildcats have sometimes had positions for not a fan ambassador, but a liaison or community person.
Community liaison. Yeah, and we have one of those, but they work for the team. They're not for the fans, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I get people that send me resumes right away. Do this. Yeah, well, if I do that, this channel goes away. Yeah. And that's my biggest fear too, is I don't want to, I'd love to be in the communications part of it and you're the guy I call, but I also don't want to lose the channel. You know what I mean? So, but I think a fan ambassador, I'll jot that down.
Yeah.
And when we have the commission on again,
I think it's a great idea. I think that if every team,
I think that's a great idea.
Right, every team had somebody from the fans, maybe they get their season ticket for free, whatever the case may be, and they're the guy or girl that the fans would reach out to and say, hey, listen, I'd really like this to change at the game. Hey, listen, I have a kid who has autism and would love to get to a game. Somebody who would get those phone calls alone, and would have the best interest
and do the best
of
he
the
could
fans.
Yeah.
Right?
And try and do what he could for that, because it's not always easy, and it's
And Ryan's
knowing
a busy
what I know
guy.
now,
So Ryan is Ryan McDonald. He's the game day production. He's the guy who's in charge of the production, right? He's also the community liaison.
Yeah.
So you've seen our show.
Yeah.
And then he also has to something's not going to get the most attention, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I've when I started this, there was four. There was one in Bathurst with Johnny Rocket. There was one on the island with Jake Murphy. There was us, and there was one in Halifax with the Herdcast. So I called us the Maritime Podcast Division. Yeah, that's what I wanted, and I wanted one from Cape Breton eventually. One from St. John eventually. There's 3 or 4 Quebec teams that do it officially too, but I think that's the way to go, is have podcast divisions and have every team have some sort of podcast representation to grow this league.
I like that even if it's not official, but to have one guy who's reporting on one team individually, and then like you do, like I love that you have people to come together for those media roundtables. I think that's a great idea. I don't know of anybody else but yourself who would try to get that going. I think that's an incredible idea, and I had a pleasure being on. I felt ill-equipped, but I had
get there.
Yeah, I had a great time on your media roundtable. I think you guys are doing a stellar job, and your hard work's paying off.
No, I appreciate that, and like I said, that was born out of, well, we have a bunch of media people, and we're at the draft, so let's put something together, and have a chat for all the fans that have nothing to watch until the draft gets here. And so it's been a lot of fun, and especially the trade deadline. Everybody likes to talk about it. And it sets us up nice for having a couple extra content things before Christmas. So, but I would love for each team to eventually have a podcast or a YouTube channel, whatever, just to be for the fans. And that's what it's all about, is eventually for the fans. And, the league generally isn't going away. Disposable income is going away, and you have to do what you can do to get people in the building. And that's whether that's certain ticket deals, food and ticket deals, shows like this, shows like yours, that gives fans a voice. I mean, I'm sure fans are more equipped to spend $40 to go to a Moosehead game because they can watch your show and be like, hey, I was at that game and this is what I thought about it, and I could talk about it on this guy's show. Yeah. And I think that's a very cool avenue. And so if this is the clip you cut, I definitely think that that's what this league needs, is a full-on support of not just a official Q podcast, but a full fan interaction, fan liaison, fan ambassador to grow this game, because that's everybody. I mean, it's a CHL TV. It's online to watch games.
Yep.
Let the fans be online to talk about it and sell your product.
100%. And again, it's such a low cost. It's such a low cost to the queue.
The only thing is commitment.
Yeah.
The only thing is, and I'll tell you, that's the hardest thing. When we were in Barrie for the summer vacation, I was getting a puck because I went into the arena and went looking around, and they asked, you do a puck? Like, I was telling them that, and they're like, oh, if we were ever to start one, what's your biggest piece of advice? Consistency.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they can do this, and it's real easy to get in front of a microphone and talk with someone for 45 minutes, talk by yourself for half an hour, but editing it and putting it out consistently week after week after week is generally the toughest part. And that was one of my other biggest hurdles. Is I would do the show from 7 to 8:30, piece it all together. And I was very particular. I would get rid of I would get rid of all those when I first started, because I say I'm a lot, and I would get rid of all those. So I'd be done editing about 2 a.m. to get it ready to go for the next night. And, that's just, it becomes a grind when you want to do it. So that's why we record Mondays, because there's not a lot of games on Monday and there's no games on Tuesday. So it comes out on Wednesday. It happens to rhyme, which is neat, but it gives me that time to get things ready, because, we've been coming on Wednesdays for 5 seasons now. So if you're thinking of doing this because you're watching this and you want to do a fan show for St. John or Cape Breton or whatever, the biggest tip I can have is be consistent. The gear won't matter. If your quality is good and you're consistent, people will keep coming back.
Yeah. Also, to that token, is where he's making it sound like it's a lot of work, and it
can be if you're particular.
It is, but it's extremely rewarding.
Yep.
I feel like I'm selfish some days when I get to the rink, because the amount of people that know my name, I'm a social butterfly. The amount of people that know my name and want to talk to me, I talk to about 500 people a night, and to me, that's my payment for putting this content out, and it's extremely rewarding in more ways than monetary. So a lot of work, yes, but definitely do it.
Yep. And the payoff is, like I said, I was happy the first time I had 10 people listen to my show. 10 people that I didn't know listened
to what you had to say
with this sultry voice for 45 minutes.
That's a pretty
talk about a team that I just started following, right? Yeah. So it is a lot of work, and I'm not trying to scare people, and you don't have to. Like, I don't care about ums and pauses and all that stuff, but back then I did. But now once you get consistent at doing it, it is rewarding when people listen to you.
All right, Adam, listen, I won't keep you too much longer here. We maybe got through half the questions, so I'm actually going to save this, and I'll have you on again. You're a pleasure to talk to. You have so much insight, man. I really do appreciate you making the time for me.
No, man, anytime I can talk about my podcast, and anytime I can talk about how I built this for anybody that's listening. You never know who's listening and who's scared to start one, or intimidated to start one, I guess I should say. And this is going to sound bad, but anytime I can help your channel, like when you come on and help my channel, that's what this is about. It's content for each other. And that's what I'm here for. So any of your fans that want to follow Matthias Rousseau and Logan Crosby, every Wednesday we have a podcast.
That's right.
Yep. Click on YouTube, Wildcast Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your stuff. Or I don't think anyone has Rogers TV, but if you're watching from outside of Nova Scotia and you have Rogers TV, we're on there every Wednesday. So you can follow Rousseau, Crosby, McKinnon. I don't know, whatever the
Vidicek.
Fourth liner do we have from your team? Vidicek,
yeah.
Yeah. All 4 of them you can follow.
Wait, did you just refer to Vidicek as a fourth
No,
liner?
I was forgetting about Vidicek completely. So I was making a joke, like what other fourth liner prospect, all this kind of stuff. No, he's nothing like a fourth liner. No, he's been
incredible.
Very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to follow the Mooseheads on their road to Rimouski, subscribe.
All right, everybody. That was Adam Lund with the Wildcast Podcast. Be sure to check him out. I hope you're all healthy, safe, and happy out there. And as always, go Moose, go. Beat you to it.